Welcome to a special edition of Friend or Foe. I'm your host, Josh Bearheart Hawk, and today we're actually taking a look at me. So I posted on the community tab here on YouTube a little while back, I guess a week or so ago, basically saying that I had wanted to do a Q&A video for 1,000 subscribers, and then I passed that number without even realizing it, and then 2,000 subscribers, and we passed 2,000 subscribers. So I was like, okay, I want to do this. My plan is for 3,000 subscribers, but I want to get the post out there and just kind of gauge reaction, see what people wanted to see. And a lot of people said they did want to see a Q&A video, although not a lot of people actually put questions down for the Q&A video. And I think that was partially because I kind of I worded it kind of confusing, talking about 3,000 subscribers and whatnot. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to answer some of the questions that were actually on the post and address some of the things and kind of just open up and so you guys can get to know me a little bit. Maybe I can get to know you in the comments. I don't know. And then you can ask me questions in the comments about the stuff that I talk about. And when we do hit 3,000 subscribers, or at the end of April, whichever comes first, I will do another follow-up video where I answer whatever questions you guys have in the comments of this video. So that should be a lot of fun, right? This is a little bit different than what I normally do, obviously. So if you're new here, I usually break down video games, talk about philosophy and ethics as one of my series. So I talk about the philosophy and ethics in games. Right now we're on The Walking Dead, so we're focusing on getting through that series. And then I have a series of videos called Friend or Foe, where I break down whether characters in videos would actually be good friends or somebody that you want to avoid at a party. So those two series are the main ones right now. I've got other series and stuff I'm working on, but that's all for another video. This video, however, we're going to start with, we got a comment here from, Raxmo. I'll put the names up on the screen so you guys can see the comments. It says, cool, would be nice to hear your video game nerd origin story. It'd be cool to be a Q&A about yourself. So my video game nerd origin story. So I started playing games in the early 90s. I was like 6-7 years old, and I played Doom. Duke Nukem was a big one. So this is all the original stuff, right? Back when we had shareware. So I grew up on that. Wound up having a PlayStation in the late 90s and playing games like Spyro the Dragon, Metal Gear Solid, Gran Turismo. I loved Gran Turismo. That was my game right there. So that kind of stuff. And then we eventually graduated from a PlayStation to an Xbox. And then I was kind of Xbox until, I don't know, the past probably 5 or 10 years or so. I've really switched from console to PC stuff. But so we switched over to Xbox. Some of the biggest games that I loved on the Xbox were Splinter Cell. The Splinter Cell series. Loved playing those games with my brothers. There was a bunch of others, but honestly, like most of it was sports games for me. I played a lot of college football, NASCAR, that kind of stuff. I was big into sports. I love college football and that kind of thing, so I played a lot of sports games. And then when I started really getting into the PC stuff, probably my first big PC game would have been, maybe Skyrim was the first real big one I got into. I can't rightly remember what the first one, just because there's been so many and it's been so long. But getting into PC, started playing things like Skyrim, Red Dead Redemption, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I came from. Back in the 2D gaming and Doom and the first person shooters and all that kind of stuff. We played Quake. So there's a lot of that stuff was kind of where the root of my video game nerdiness. I think nerdiness is a word. It's where it all goes to. So the next one, hopefully that answers the question. You guys can expand and ask more questions as we go. So the next one, let's see. There's a question I would ask. So this is from Nakira523. If there's a question I would ask, it's how did you find yourself doing this series when your old videos seem completely different from before? So that is a very good question. So I have been doing YouTube stuff for years, and trying to do different things. And at first, it was just more of a hobby. It was back in 2016, 2017. I was actually I had some really, really bad old videos going out to, I would go to cemeteries and I loved hanging out. And I did a lot of ghost hunting back in the day. So I'd go to cemeteries, film myself walking around. The audio quality was awful. The video quality was just terrible. I was shooting it on an old phone. So it wasn't good overall, but I was uploading them anyway. Didn't really go anywhere. And then getting into 2020, 2021, I started kind of focusing on wanting to do YouTube a little bit more, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I always wanted to be kind of a teacher. And one of the things that I wanted to teach, as I've learned about this over the past 10 or 15 years or so, is philosophy and the difference between right and wrong and what's morally right and how we know what's morally right and all that kind of stuff, because that's always fascinated me. So I actually tried a series on this channel on Lost in Games. I had originally I had cemetery chats with my wife. That was the first thing that we did. So that was about the first year or so of this channel's existence. But then when I tried to do gaming stuff, I was trying to do some Let's Plays. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted. I was uploading full streams and that kind of stuff. Where it really changed for me was I started philosophy and ethics in games on my main channel, which is called Legends and Tales. And we'll get to that in a little bit. That was another question I wanted to address. But it didn't really go anywhere over there. I did a few videos and they were okay. I'm still proud of them, but like they were not what this series has become. And so when you look at my old content on this channel, what's showing right now is the stream highlights that I was doing from Twitch streams last year. I was streaming around the holidays. Up until about December, I was streaming, and then I was cutting those streams up and then uploading them on YouTube. I stopped doing that partially because streaming is exhausting, and I am an introvert at heart, and so streaming is it wears me out a lot quicker than I expected to. But also, my son got really sick, and he needed surgery in January, so I had a lot weighing on my mind, so I kind of backed off of the streaming thing. The reason why I started doing the philosophy and ethics series on this channel is because I wanted to give that series another shot. I wanted to try something different. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and it was just kind of a wing and a prayer, hoping to see what would happen. And thankfully, the algorithm picked it up and showed it to a bunch of people. And those people, y'all that are here today, you seem to really enjoy the series, and it really excites me because it's like, okay, this is awesome. This is something that I have done that people are enjoying. And so it means a lot. It's really humbling to me as well, because I never expected something that I put together, trying to teach things, trying to examine games from a perspective that I find interesting. I never expected that to actually take off. So I'm really excited that it did. Hopefully, I think that answers the question. I'm not, it's the first for me, guys. So you got to bear with me. So this one here from Abby says, I would love to know more about you as a narrator, particularly about your education, your own book plans, recommendations for other books that inspired you, fiction or otherwise, your experience as a parent, and like a bunch of other people are also saying here, nerdy facts about yourself, what inspired you to get here. Congrats on hitting your milestone so quickly. You'll be getting the play buttons before you know it, and I hope that I'm getting play buttons at some point. That would be cool as hell. But yeah, so we'll start with that, particularly about education. So mostly for the philosophy and ethics stuff, I'm self-educated. I've spent years studying and just learning about philosophical constructs and logical fallacies and reasoning and that kind of stuff, mostly because it fascinates me as a subject. I'm currently working on actually getting a bachelor's degree in business. I went back to school a couple of years ago. I wanted to try and get a degree that was different. I had done IT stuff. I worked in tech for years, and I worked my way up to major incident manager, was loving it, and then I got laid off. And I was like, okay, I need a direction. I need something different. I wanted to kind of get out of IT because IT is a very, it's annoying in some ways, frustrating in others. And I was like, I'm going to try something a little bit different. So I went back to school for a business management marketing degree. So that's what I'm currently working on. So I will eventually have that, focusing mainly on marketing stuff and stuff that kind of applies to what I'm doing on YouTube today. So it's kind of right up my alley of where I want to go. But that's as far as education is concerned, that's pretty much what I've got. Otherwise, high school educated, military education. I went to learned a lot when I was in the military. The School of Hard Knocks, that kind of thing. So, own book plans, recommendations for other books that inspired you. So I'm hoping that you're talking maybe about the books that I've talked about that I've written. I briefly mentioned them in certain videos. So I'm an author. I published my first book 2 years ago now. I can't believe it's been that long. But that was called The Journal. It was a mystery, kind of a mystery novel. It was my first book, and I'm proud of it, but not my favorite book. My favorite book is my most recent one, which is GPS Signal Lost, came out last year. And it is a road trip adventure that involves a miniature Bigfoot and a guy named Charlie that winds up getting going into a bathroom at a rest. He's a truck driver. He goes into a rest stop, goes to the bathroom, comes out, everybody's gone. He's trying to figure out where everybody went. So it's kind of a mystery to figure out what happened. That one's a fun one. I love that book. But as far as books that inspired me or recommendations, I was a big reader growing up. I read pretty nonstop a lot of the Goosebumps series, so I love the Goosebumps stuff. Haunted Ohio was a big influence on me. That was a great series. I loved anything ghost related, creepy stories, that kind of stuff. That was kind of an inspiration for my Legends and Tales book and series on YouTube. So that was a big series and influence for me. I loved reading things. I was a bit of a nerd as a kid with The Black Stallion was a big series for me. If you ever read, I don't know how many people out there probably read those kind of things. I'm trying to think of other things. When I got a little bit older, things like The Green Mile, I started reading a little bit of Stephen King because I was interested in horror and that kind of thing. So there was that. And realistic, I mean, honestly, the past couple of years, the biggest thing that I've read has been Harry Potter. I'd always wanted to read it growing up. I was not allowed to because there was witchcraft in it, and my mom was very anti-witchcraft, and she was convinced that if I read Harry Potter, that I would wind up like learning how to do spells or something. I'm not really sure, but so I've been reading Harry Potter. My wife got it for me. I got the series a couple of years ago because I've always wanted to read it. So I've been reading that like 3 or 4 times through now. Just that's my go to bed book. I go to bed every night and read a little bit of Harry Potter and fall asleep. Just it's a comfort thing, right? So that's really where my reading background comes from. There's probably a lot of other books. I didn't write any. I wish I would have written some more titles down, because off the top of my head, I just can't think of what books I read growing up. But the big ones were Goosebumps and Haunted Ohio were the really big ones for me. And Green Mile. Green Mile, one of the greatest books, I think, one of the greatest stories that I've ever read. The Green Mile is just outstanding. If you've never read it before, go read it. Watch the movie. There's a movie for it too. Both are outstanding. As far as my experience as a parent, so I haven't mentioned this too much in my videos, but I am a parent. I've got 3 kids. The oldest is getting ready to graduate high school. She's going to be graduating in about a month and a half, and then she's going off to basic training. It's been a roller coaster. It's been one of those things where it's as a parent, trying to find your way, and it's been over the years just trying to figure out what's right to do, what you don't do. The fact that I've gotten a child to 18 and to graduating high school just blows me away. Like, she got her driver's license last year, and that was terrifying as a parent. Like, having a kid out there on the roads and just thinking to yourself, like, this is one of my kids that's driving on the roads. I don't know how I feel about this. And then she's going to be going out into the world. The other 2 going to be graduating high school in the next couple of years. And it still blows me away. I feel really old. I'm only 38. I'm gonna be 39 in a month, but like, I feel really old because I've got almost 3 kids that are gonna be graduating high school in the next couple of years. It's insane, right? But the nerdy facts about myself. I've laid out some nerdy facts I think already about my gaming stuff. I don't have anything off the top of my head that would be like too nerdy, other than just like the philosophy stuff. If you watch the philosophy videos, like, I like to really nitpick and pick things apart. That's probably about as nerdy as it gets for me. Star Trek versus Star Wars. I like Star Trek. I like Star Wars too, but like, Star Wars has been played out. So if you want to get into nerd credentials there, Star Trek, The Next Generation. You can ask further questions in the comments and I can elaborate. Let's go to. Apart from the Walking Dead game series, okay. So this has been one that's been asked a couple of times on different videos as well. What other choices matter games have you played? Are you planning to make videos about those games too? So I actually have a list of games that I had written down because I don't like to try to remember this stuff offhand, and I didn't want to miss any. So when it comes to choices matter games, obviously the Walking Dead series. I have not finished the Walking Dead series. Fun fact for anybody that's interested, I have not finished season 4 yet. So when we get to season 4, some of that's going to be a surprise to me. I've been trying to avoid spoilers for it. So we'll see how that goes when we get to season 4. I do know Lily comes back, but that's about all I know of it. But other games that I like, the Quarry was one that I played and absolutely loved it. I don't know how choices driven. I mean, there are choices you have to make that affect the story. So I guess that it kind of counts. I don't know that there's any game. I don't know that there's any game out there that's as choices driven as The Walking Dead. Other than games like other games from Telltale, like Wolf Among Us, which is another game that I played the first couple of episodes for. I haven't finished it yet. I like the Wolf Among Us, and I'm going to be playing it. That is the next question that somebody had asked about the Wolf Among Us. I will be playing the Wolf Among Us in the future because I want to examine it the same way I've done with The Walking Dead. But I've also got games like Firewatch. I did play the Batman Telltale series, at least the first couple of episodes. Again, that one, it wasn't even completely out, and I didn't know if it was going to be completely out by the time I got done playing it. So that one was a question about whether or not I was actually going to be able to finish it. So I never actually went around and finished it, right? Fallout 4. So I put Fallout 4, Skyrim, The Witcher. I don't know that those are choices matter games, but they're games where there's choices and decisions to be made. Games that I would like to at some point dig into in the Philosophy and Ethics series, and even for the Friends and Foe series, because there's characters in some of those games that I think would be really interesting to dig into, especially with Red Dead Redemption, which I haven't mentioned yet because it wasn't a choices matter game. But there's other games out there that you wouldn't necessarily think of that I think would be fun to dive into, but I don't know how much that would be considered choices matter kind of games. So when I get to those, what I'll be doing is putting up on the community tab a vote for the community. So my goal, what I'm planning on doing, is asking patrons and channel members to narrow down the list of games that I currently have to play through. And then once we have 4, then I'll have that 4 go for a vote for the community to kind of let you guys help decide. Your choices matter. And we'll see how the channel evolves over time. But some other games, Splinter Cell, like I mentioned earlier, Doom, Spyro, Metal Gear Solid, Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto is one that I don't think many people think of, especially when it comes to GTA 5. You do get to make some choices in that game, and some of the choices that you make do matter as far as the outcome. Maybe it's just that the outcome of the heist doesn't go as well as you hoped. But like you get to choose whether to kill Trevor at the end of the game or not. You can leave him alive or get rid of him. So like there are some choices within those games that you probably wouldn't think about on a regular basis that I think are going to be a lot of fun to pick apart. But I don't want to dig too far into those things. I think that's all the questions that were on here, though. Let me just double check that I didn't miss any. Yeah, I think that's the majority of the questions. So if you have any questions that you want, maybe you've got some new questions coming from this video, put those in the comment down below. The goal here is to kind of expand on just the series that I've had. I do want to mention that I've got 2 other channels, 2 other main channels. So one is called Legends and Tales. That is a channel that I've been doing for a while. I'm going to be starting to re-upload on that one. I haven't uploaded in a while. Basically, the goal behind it is to kind of dig into history or share stories. I'm going to be looking into like legends, smaller known legends in Ohio, and expanding on them and writing my own stories for those. And then I've got a channel that I'm going to be getting into, which is part of the reason I wanted to kind of come out and do this video this way, despite the wind. I hope the wind's not too bad on the microphone. Because I'm going to be going out. It's called Trail Talk, if I remember the name right. I just rebranded the channel. Um, it's a channel that I haven't really done much with, so I wanted to do something a little bit different. I like to get out. I like to hike. I like to get outdoors. So I'm planning on basically doing stuff like this and sitting down in front of the camera and just talking, going out on trails, sharing the trail that I'm on, talking a little bit about the trail, but also about whatever happens to be on my mind because I'm very opinionated. I've got a lot of stuff, a lot of topics I love to discuss and talk about. So I think that's going to be a good outlet, and it might not ever go anywhere, but it's going to be something that's going to give me a little extra. And if you want to see extra, if you want to hear stuff and maybe hear some stories from my time in Iraq and that kind of stuff, that'll be a perfect channel for that kind of stuff. So I think that's all I've got in this one. I do want to thank you all for watching. I should have put the patrons up at the beginning. I'll put them up again now, the patrons and channel members, so you can join if you'd like to. And then, like I said, leave comments down below, and I will respond to those in another video. I'll heart the comments. I'm not going to answer your questions in the comment section because, like, where's the fun in that, right? but I will let you know that I've read them by hearting them, and then we'll do another video in a couple of weeks, and we'll see how it goes. But thank you all for watching. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.